Good afternoon, everyone. As we gather here today, it is both a moment of excitement and reflection because we have reached the final day of our faculty development program. Over the past few days, this FDP has been a journey of learning, interaction, and exploration of new ideas. We have had the opportunity to engage with experts, gain insights into emerging technologies, and expand our academic perspectives. And today, we conclude this enriching journey with a truly special session. It is my great pleasure to welcome our distinguished resource person, Dr. Anup Ayyappan. Professor Ayyappan is a respected academic from the School of Digital Science at Digital University, Kerala, with expertise in interdisciplinary domains of computational chemistry, artificial intelligence, and molecular sciences. His academic journey includes a PhD from the University of Hyderabad and valuable international research experience in Germany. He has also served as a faculty member at Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, contributing significantly to both teaching and research. Today's topic, From Molecules to Medicine, AI Discovery and the Limits of Prediction, perfectly captures the essence of modern science advancement. As AI continues to revolutionize drug discovery and healthcare, it opens up new possibilities while also challenging us to understand its boundaries and limitations. On this concluding day, this session is not just a lecture, but an opportunity to reflect on how far we have come in this FDP and how we can carry this knowledge forward into our teaching, research, and professional growth. We are truly honored to have such an eminent expert with us today. On behalf of everyone present here, I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to Professor Anup Ayyappan. Let us welcome him and look forward to an insightful and inspiring session. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first of all, thanks all the organizers for inviting me to this session. And this is actually a very different section for me, as it is. Usually, I am basically a computer chemist. Recently, only I started to look into healthcare, analytics, and AI. So it was also Sunny Mukhopadhyay, who is also in the audience, I guess, introduced me to the organizer.
You are audible, but your voice is not clear.
Okay.
Somewhat.
Is it low or?
It's low. Slow. Please.
I don't know. Maybe I recommend or try another mic.
Yeah, it's okay right now.
Okay. Maybe I'll speak a little louder.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So yeah, I would try to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Perfectly okay.
Okay. Yeah, so to get me a little bit charged, so I would like to have this conversation. So some of you can tell me, like, what is the audience like? Some of you can, if you can say, like, who you are. So what is the audience like? Is it doctors or teachers?
Audience are teachers from various engineering colleges along the apart different locations in India. One or two persons are also from America and Africa. Basically they are teachers, and some of the medical practitioners are also in this.
Yeah, good. I could manage to attend only one previous talk because of various activities in the job. I also wanted to attend all of them because most of them are very interesting. But one thing is that it's different from what we do. So, okay, so we are trying to basically look at the molecules and medicines. And where is AI coming into this picture? So AI healthcare, AI in healthcare is a very broad umbrella. So it was like starting from the wearables, to the smart watches that many people are now looking at the data, like tracking the data, and how much or what is the health rate, and the AI companies who are taking this data and analyzing themselves for various uh, benefits. And then there are like diagnosis, helping diagnosis using various AI techniques, decision support to the doctors and also to other practitioners in the field, and then research and the drug discovery. Drug discovery was there for a long time. It is there all the time. Okay, so before the treatment, like healthcare analytical systems, in hospitals, in therapies, and eventually at the end, doctor writes a medicine. What is in the medicine? So to know that, what to put in that medicine, the medicine is a molecule, and how this molecule actually helps to solve our problems in health. So that is probably the downstream part of the entire story. Drug discovery came before the phrase was there. It was there all the time. But all of this AI is helping every part of the community, all walks of life, including research, and including the research in medicine. So why do we still need new medicines? We have a lot of medicines already in the market. There are a lot of medicines. Why do we need even new medicine? Because we are not in the perfect world where all diseases can be covered. We have still problems. Drugs are there, but some of them are not very effective, or the effectiveness has come down because of resistance, or some of them are still toxic. It's only the balance of benefit versus toxicity or the side effects. That is why we still take those medicines, not because they are problem free. And some of the medicines, it gets resistive, or the diseases gets resistive power, and then you need new medicines. Sometimes, like the selectivity, like some medicines are good, but their preparation is difficult. Some are very costly, and that way also we need to give the research, do the research for getting better and better medicines. So, what kind of molecules actually we are looking for? So, we are looking for a molecule. A molecule is not a dead drug. The fitting molecule is not a dead drug. So, what is fitting? So, from school, we have heard about this lock and key mechanism, and the drug is a molecule that goes and fits somewhere and do its action. So not only fitting, so that is where the fitting comes in, but the fitting is not enough. There are a lot of other things. At every stage, a molecule must survive another question. So what are these questions? So what is the log? The first question, like what is the log that we are trying to open? The target is a biological entity we choose to influence. It can be a protein, RNA, DNA, so whatever is the biological part, where there we want to influence their action by adding or inserting a molecule. So the mechanism of action is what the molecule effectively does after target engagement. So that mechanism actually decides how this works. And in order to do that, so the basic science has to understand the mechanism, and then only we can effectively work on solving the problem. So the study of mechanism. So from fitting the molecule to a real drug. A molecule that fits only the molecule that fits is only the beginning. So the lock and key mechanism and we finding the key to the lock is a most simplified version of this story. But this molecule has to again pass through several layers that talk. So does it engage with the target at all? So it has to go and then it has to interact with the lock. So does it engage? Does it sufficiently engage? And so is there a better way to engage? Is there a better molecule that can engage? So there are a lot of questions that can come. And the interaction strong enough, it is just going there is not sufficient. If it doesn't stay for longer, if it doesn't have a sufficient amount of interaction, the handshaking has to be good enough to stay longer. So that is another question. Then you have questions like, is it selective enough? It goes and binds to the lock, but it also binds the other lock. You have a key that unlocks your room, but if it also unlocks other rooms, you can also enter the other room. Similarly, people with other keys from the other rooms can also enter. So that is not selective. So this particular drug has to go and selectively bind to the target. So that is important. Does the binding affect the right biological effect? The binding create the right biological effect? That is another thing. So it binds, but does the action is it inhibiting the process or it does something else? So that is also important. Will the body tolerate this molecule? So that is another thing. So does it? So it has many aspects as well. So the molecule has to reach there once you take it as a pill or injection or whatever. It has to survive the body system to go to the target and get there and do its action. If it dies or if it disintegrates or decomposes before it reaches the target, then there is no use. And then again, it can survive the real development pathway. So that is also important in making a molecule, in making a drug, in making its formulations for these things. So does it survive and is it costly? Is the molecule stable enough to stay there and reach the target? So is it can it survive the room temperature and pH and all these characteristics? So that is also it's a discovery is a long thing, so it has to survive many of these cycles. It has to go through several layers, and it's an iterative process. If it doesn't work, then go back and study again, and then bring a new molecule. And so, in all these aspects, in every stage, the molecule must survive. Another question. The discovery is not the one decision; it is a sequence of failures. So knowing the lock better, that's one of the most interesting and starting aspect. You have to know the lock, basically, to understand the structure of a protein, the molecule that is in action. So we have to know the structure. And then we know that, okay, so the design is the key, we need to understand the lock. And the protein structure is not just a picture, it's a working hypothesis. It is all the simplification of the real picture. So the actual real picture, the lock is the actual lock that we have in our home, it's a rigid. But this particular lock is not rigid, it's dynamic. It moves around all the time. And then the key has to match the dynamic environment. And the key itself can be dynamic. Only few molecules are so rigid that it doesn't change at all, but any larger molecule can have a dynamicity of itself. So there is a dynamic environment. So there is a time effect. So all these aspects has to be considered. So just binding is not enough, and it has to stay during all these environmental changes. So that is also. So the binding site is where the chemistry becomes specificity. So experimental structure came first, expanded across at scale, expanded access at scale. So this is one of the major development that is AlphaFold. Many of you might have heard about it. It is the development from Google DeepMind. So before that, the determining the structure of a protein was a very long journey. It can take one or even more PhD, entire PhD time may be spent on finding one protein structure. So this many years of work now became very can be done in minutes. So 500 years of work can be done in few minutes. So that is advancement of AlphaFold that came from the AI's from the AI development. So this is one story that one usually tells about the AI development that anyone can understand, even to the layman. So that is it. That's an interesting milestone, one can say. Now we have thousands of protein structures available, predictors protein structures, which are reasonably good for starting our investigation. So that is the AlphaFold story. AlphaFold helps us to know the log better. So it does not solve the drug design by itself. So only one part of the story is solved by AlphaFold. That is our the knowing the structure. So it's not the same as knowing the best key or how the body will respond. So there are, as I said, there are many aspects. So knowing the lock better change the game. It did not end the game. So earlier we could not even design to make a molecule without knowing the structure of the protein. So that has changed when we have knowledge of the structure. So the standard computational pipeline, I will tell you in a very on a surface level. So, so now we have the target. Now we need a candidate. So target structure, uh, screen, dock, dynamic, optimize, admit, validate. So this can be considered as a general simplified pipeline. So we have the target. Now I have to find a molecule that fits the target. So in order to do that, one way is the high throughput screening. So we have a large number of molecule database containing a large number of molecules, and then we can screen to find the molecule that is best among these. So the best few candidates among these. In order to do that, one of the ways to dock. Docking is a very common pipeline now. There are plenty of tools available to do that. While docking, basically you put several keys into the lock and see which one binds better, or what is the binding score. So which molecule binds better. So we can rank the molecules according to that, and then so the binding is not enough, just binding is not enough. How long it can stay in a dynamical environment in the real molecular level. So that is what dynamics does. So it docks and then let the protein and the molecule to evolve over time. Look at the dynamics. So what happens? Does it stay? At what stage it stays? What is the free energy of this? So this is all done by the dynamics, and then optimize this, and then get the studies about predictions about absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, etc., and then validate. So validation is the final stage where we can take this and take to the next level and then find out whether it is actually working. So now, before the computation, we had to, by intuition or something, we had to pick the molecule and then do the validation, which is a costly exercise. But we can do a screening using computational chemistry, and which can help us narrowing the wide range of molecular system to a small set of molecules and then validate them properly. This pipeline looks linear, real discovery is iterative. So it's not one way. So we have to come back and taking our time and get the target identification asked. So what should what should we influence? Target validation asks, does changing the target really matters? Which molecules are even worth testing? So that is the screening. So there's no point in testing any molecule. So that becomes a really random phenomena. So take any molecule and then test, and it will be costly. It is a costly affair. It's not just a cost. Most of the molecules, or many molecules, are difficult to synthesize. and many molecules, even after synthesizing, it's not stable. And some of them are very costly synthetic methods. And then after all, if it doesn't work or if it isn't even nearby, then it is a waste of all this exercise. So that's where the screening helps. So there is a virtual screening as well as experimental screening. So virtual screening is where computation and type of work where we go through all this in the computational aspect. Docking asks how might this molecule fit. So that's a docking. So it's like filling all the molecules all the molecules one after the other, and check what what molecule fit better. If it doesn't even fit in, then we don't need to consider, right? So there is a shape aspect, but the shape is not enough. There are also many other things. How each part of the molecule interacts with the part of the other molecule, that's a target molecule, the protein. So how each of these interaction affects, and the interactions are like very small amount of energy, like hydrogen bonding or non-covalent interactions. So these are very small effect, but put together in a large, in a combined fashion, that makes a large effect. Docking is fast, but it is also approximate. So in docking also now, I mean, in every part of this pipeline, in every module now AI is entering. So in docking also we have docking AI-based docking systems like the deep dock, diff dock. They all use the training from the artificial intelligence, machine learning. So this helps all this. See the machine learning. I mean the drug discovery was already there. There was a large amount of data in this domain, and this is therefore a perfect candidate for machine learning because we already have a large amount of data. Even before the AI times came in, we were already doing the regression type of analysis, statistical models, and this is just the next step, a natural next step to use the ML tools in this regime. So that is already coming. Next is dynamics. What happens after it fits. And the docking dynamic answer different. Docking asks whether it's a possible force, and the dynamic asks about behavior over time. So that is also important. So what happens after it fits? That's the dynamic question. Oh, I'm going backwards. Optimization asks, can we improve the potency, selectivity, and properties? So maybe you have some molecules which reasonably fits, or maybe you have already known molecules which we need to want to improve the potency or selectivity or any other properties. So we can modify the system after understanding the mechanism, after understanding the structure of the protein. We can try to tune it by changing some part of the molecule, like changing a functional group or make minor changes in the molecule and check it. So that is also an optimization task. So optimization rarely improves just one thing. It's not just one thing, so it can the potency, selectivity, admit all these things. So that is another pipeline. Admit filtering asks, will this candidate behave properly in the body? So as I said before, it's the molecule has to reach the target. It has to reach the molecule. You cannot directly go and put it there. You just pass through several channels in the body, starting from swallowing the pill. It has to pass through the enzymes, it has to pass through the digestive systems, and it has to be selective to reach the particular targets. There's a lot of things that's needed. So this particular filtering, this is data-driven filtering, and that actually helps before we actually put the molecule into the body. And over the years, the experience gained in it and the studies and all these things actually helps to predict before actually putting the molecule in the body. Validation, can the evidence survive the real experiment? So that is where it actually goes to the testing phase, clinical trials, in vitro studies, and in vivo studies. So there are several layers even after that. So the pipeline is useful because it organizes questions, not because Reality is truly linear. So when AI ended the story, where AI ended the story, AI did not create a drug discovery, it ended an already complex process. So AI helps in finding the target that we already showed about the AlphaFold story, where it helped in finding the target. And AI helps in even generating different new molecules uh, using AI predictions or even inverse design, so called. So all these things actually helps to predict new molecules based on the requirement that we have. And it also helps in screening. So large scale screening is now made much faster using the AI and ML techniques. Scoring and properties can be predicted. Before that, we have to do expensive calculations, which takes weeks and months to calculate some properties. Now we can use AI to predict these properties, and that also helps in speeding up the process. And AI also helps in designing. As we know, the design part is also comes under AI's benefits now. So any kind of design, even designing pictures and designing songs, all these things are now possible with AI, and that is no different in our design process and also admin. So for all these purposes, now we can see AI tools. And the big companies, the big brothers actually put in all these AI tools together and make a complete pipeline. Whereas someone who does research in a small scale lab may have to put all these things together, or do all these pipelines separately and individually using the software that are available, many of them open source. So that requires more effort, but yeah, so sometimes that is only possible because these softwares can be so expensive to purchase. So AI helps identify and prioritize targets. Second, AI helps us predict structures and structural hypotheses at scale. Third, AI helps rank molecules faster in screening workflows. So, like any other prediction task, AI can do the screening and ranking. So many features comes into one workflow. So what is actually changed? It has scaled up. So instead of doing things that takes long time, we can do a lot of things in a very short amount of time. So many more candidates can be considered in a short amount of time. So and then you can also do when you can do one loop faster, then you can do many iterative process in a short time. So that is another advantage of what AI brought to the market. AI also helps predict properties earlier. So potency, solubility, toxicity, admit, all these things can be predicted much faster using AI. And the speed that you are considering is actually much larger. Like many years of work can be done in minutes. So that is a kind of scale that one can get. And generative models try to propose new candidates, not just score old ones. So this is another aspect. So Gen AI or generative AI is now the latest buzzword, and it's also actually effective. So instead of just checking all the molecules that are available, you can actually generate the models using AI, generate the molecules, and then you can do this faster. So old emphasis and the new emphasis. Old is score what already exists and propose what could exist. So that's probably the one change that you can remember going from older scenario to new scenario. AI has also entered molecular modeling, including energetics and dynamics related workflows. So as in every aspects of life, also molecular modeling has changed. So so what is this docking? What does docking gives us? The docking gives us how easily it binds with the target. So that is the binding energy. How much energy is released if you bind two systems together. So that's a binding energy. So how can you calculate this? So a real calculation, so-called ab initio or density function theory, a high-level calculation, very accurate calculation could take a lot of time, or a few days or few weeks. And in that case, how many molecules can you screen? So that actually slow down the system. So now with the AI predictions of energy and the binding, we can actually carry out calculations for a lot of molecules, and thereby can get the results much faster. Like dynamics also, dynamics could take months in hundreds of computers to run real calculations. But we can predict certain things using AI. So that is still a emerging area. All of these are actually emerging area, but speeding up dynamics is also, it still takes time, and these are very system specific. But yeah, as you can see, whatever was seen as impossible like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, now many things are we are seeing the real outputs, especially in the area of generative AI, large language models, etc. Like before the time of ChatGPT, many things that are unimaginable is now imagined, like agentic AI. So all these things are actually going to take this entire pipeline a very different stage in the near future. The process comes with a limit, so it's not everything is that shiny there, right? The quality, the data quality is very important. The input data, the quality of the input data is very important. Like in any AI pipeline, any AI task, any AI stack, the quality of the data is the most important thing. So if we don't have the right data, then we don't have the right prediction with the AI. So that is even more and more important when it goes to the higher levels of drug discovery. Like molecules are, well, data about the molecules are plenty available already. But when it comes to the protein, okay, the structure is known, but what about the dynamics? What about yeah, the actual experimental data? So that is actually very few in them. What about the patient data? So how many? Yeah, how many are available? And this data has to be very good because every experiment can be affected by a lot of factors like experiment accuracy, system temperature, environment, lab, the molecules that are used, the reagents that are used. All these things can really affect the output of data. So that data quality is very important when you train the model. So that is actually a very challenge in this scenario also. And the generalization, if it is not really good, like the overfitting and the data leakage, all these aspects, all these difficulties in AI is actually affected here also. Uncertainty, like the prediction, how much is uncertainty in this prediction? How good are they? Yes, total accuracy is not enough. It's also important to have precision, recall. This is very important in the models. AI makes parts of discovery faster. It does not remove the need for experiment. That is true as always in this case. AI is not removing the experiment part. It is actually speeding up the prediction so that it also narrows the level of experiment that one has to do rather than thousands of molecules or only few molecules can be tested. So the impossibles can be removed earlier, unlikely things can be removed earlier. So that is some way it improves our pipeline. AI is compressing loops inside the pipeline, so it's not just abolishing the old journey. So every part of the system, we have faster vehicles for each of these pipelines. So that is how, and also the total integration is faster. So like, we can read the data from one pipeline to the other, and the intermediate analysis steps also may be made faster during this entire pipeline can be set up by AI. And the human intervention can also be reduced or minimized in this way. And all the routine tasks can be automated so that one can focus on more important questions rather than meddling with small, routine or mundane problems. So that is another way to put the effect of AI in this. AI changed the scale of molecular discovery. It did not remove its uncertainty. So beyond the standard pipeline, much of the standard pipeline is still assumed we are searching among describable candidates. But the frontier is larger and chemical space far beyond known molecules. So, sorry, two different discovery mindsets. So the rank the already known molecules. So already there is a large data set of molecules that are available online, even from these, where you can have a large data set of molecules. So these are somehow, many of them are known molecules, somewhere synthesized and characterized, and its properties are available. Maybe not all of them, but many properties are available. So these are the databases of known molecules. But the condition of known molecules has an interesting aspect. So that is something usually doesn't come into the mind. So what are the molecules that are synthesized, or what are the molecules that are available in nature? So the molecules that are available in nature are created by some kind of processes or some life organisms. So why do they create this molecule? Actually, there is some use for it, or there is some natural phenomena that's making it. What about the molecules that we are synthesizing in the lab? And there is also very important, interesting aspect of the molecules that are getting built. So these are the molecules that can be synthesized in our lab conditions most of the time. We don't go beyond the lab conditions. Sometimes maybe little elevated temperature or little elevated pressure, or adding some photochemistry or some other techniques. Other than that, we don't go beyond this condition. So the molecules that are synthesized in the lab are also belong to that condition. So that can be created in under these conditions. And what is another condition? Like how many hours one will want to conduct a reaction? Usually it's a working day or a couple of working days if the reaction can be left alone in the lab to get the reaction done overnight. Otherwise, it's a reaction that is going on within few working hours less than a day. So that is important. There are molecules that takes longer to synthesize may not be even synthesized. And it's the same is the case with the conditions. So very high pressure reaction, very few are known. That's what is it area. And the catalysis condition, the toxic reagents. So there's a lot of things. So what I'm trying to say is that the amount of molecules that are actually synthesized is much smaller than what is actually possible. So that is where I think the shift has to happen. Rather than testing all the available molecules, we will have to find new molecules. So that is where the discovery becomes a search problem, not just a scoring problem. So let us search for the molecules that are not in the science or not even thought of. The known molecules are about 10 to the power 9. Drug-like chemical species often estimated here 10 to the power 60. You see the difference? Like it is one the 9 zeros after one. So that is the number of molecules that are known. And what is the number of molecules? The drug-like chemical space, and that size is like 60 zeros after one. 10 to the power 60. So that's actually a very large. And that is not just any molecules, it is just the drug-like molecules. Drug-like molecules are usually contains only few set of elements. We have 92 natural elements, but what you will find in a drug-like molecule is a few. It will contain hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, some halides, sulfur, phosphorus, and maybe a couple of metals. So that's all that you will find in the drug-like molecules. And if you put all of them together and make a set of possible molecules using only this, and there are also criteria like what is the molecular weight of a drug-like molecule. So there is a maximum. So this number 10 to the power 60 comes from taking care of all these conditions. Otherwise, the number is much larger. So the deeper challenge now is to set, select, selection, and accessibility. So my work in this region is close to uh, like finding generating this chemical space, the large number of molecules, and search for the molecules that have certain properties. So this is my recent interest in last growing in this last couple of years. And currently, what is applied is in the finding the best fuel molecule or functional materials molecules. The same pipeline, the same logic can be applied to search for the drug molecule. So the exact application may differ, but the search logic is transferable. So that's all. So this general pipeline of this search for the molecule is actually like generate the candidates using some algorithms and then predict their properties and then prioritize for validation. So that is overall that looks very simple. So that's general outline. So what changes when you have known candidates behind prediction with a known space and exploration of unseen space? So that is something we will have to see going beyond our intuition. We have some intuition about certain molecules that will fit the target. What if there is a completely different molecule makes another purpose even better? So those are the next step for really faster screening. It's a guided exploration. So the key idea is that the real frontier is to explore molecules that have not yet been synthesized and sometimes not even imagined. So discovery is not only about choosing better, it's also about imagining better. There is always a limit of this prediction. Prediction is powerful, but it's not the whole story. You know that prediction is not always correct. That is example probably you are facing every day now. When you ask a question in the generative AI platforms like ChatGPT or GPT or Cloud, there's an answer, sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So this prediction may not be always true. So initially, the first of all, the data can be biased. As I said, we have only data of our intuitions, our limited space, our limited set of molecules. So the data can get biased because of the bias in the generation. The model can fail outside the training space. So that is true with any pipeline. So if our model probably looks better in our training set, but we take it out of the set, it makes sense. Now we have, we understand the system where AI can fail and what are the steps to consider in order to avoid those pitfalls. But again, it has to take its time. And sometimes biology can surprise us. So that is why biology is still not a science like mathematics. It has a lot of parameters that are unknown. Unknowns are more, and the equations are complex. Reality can sometimes be serendipitous. So that is where we have to see what really happens. A good score is not a medicine. A good prediction is not a validation. So that is why even now, I mean, with all these developments also, drug design or making a molecule, finally getting a drug is not still not an easy thing. It has improved. Probably the number of years it takes to from the beginning to the end of the medicine has come down, but it is still a long time to go. The more we move towards a novel chemical space, the more uncertainty matters. Yeah. So as you said, we have the molecules that are put up in the database, which are already synthesized. So that is a very small chemical space. So if you have a very different chemical space, maybe the entire prediction can be wrong because no such molecule existed before. So it will add to the training data. It can go beyond the training data as long as some principles are learned. But if there is some completely new scenario, things can happen. So, what we need more of is faster prediction and most honest uncertainty. So, AI can help us search better. It cannot remove the need for judgment, experiment, or evidence. So, it's like blindly believing the predictions can be very dangerous. We should have the experimental validation, proper benchmarking, and even human level judgments and all the aspects that are probably discussed in this last days, like ethics and biases, all these things are also very relevant. AI can change what we are able to search. It does not remove the need to discover. Always the human intuition will be useful. Uh, so final takeaway is that discovery is more than a prediction. It is exploration and uncertainty. So in my research, so basically for chemical space larger, that is our focus beyond the chemical space that is already known. So how do we go beyond that and explore on screen and design? Use the typical pipelines, but we focus on the searching part. And then each of these pipelines are getting better. And if we don't use the newest and then we fail in each of these. So my work begins where the candidates list is unfilled. So I'm interested in how molecular possibilities are explored, not only how fixed candidates are ranked. So two different computational attitudes evaluate what I have been given, and the other one is generate and explore what may be possible. So what is the possibility restrictions? That is actually the physical laws, like how many valencies can a carbon have. So many such things like comes out of physics rules. So that is the constraint. And what is not the constraint is the synthetic rules or how these are generated and all these things. So there is something called a potential energy surface. So that is a surface where the molecule sits. So the energy of the molecule, if you plot it in a surface, so that is a potential energy surface. So that matters because molecules are not static ideas. They are structures with the many possibilities. So the molecules with the different structure has different energy. So the comprising energy, if when you plot in the surface, that's called potential surface. So that is something we chemists normally knows about, and we have algorithms to explore this potential energy surface. But to explore such a surface very fast means even more better, including the AI-enabled techniques. So global exploration asks what stable or relevant structures are even available. So there are many methods to do that, and we pursue one particular type of method. In general, this may be termed as a global optimization or global search for different molecules, isomers, or conformations. So mainly, this pipeline has generate candidates, evaluate properties, and prioritize for follow-up. The same thing, but generate candidates. That's the difference here. The logic appeals for fuels, materials, and in principle also to therapeutic discovery. The exact target biology may change. The search problem remains. So in all this case, the overall story is same. So we have a target. We have to find a model. So So this AI becomes most interesting when it helps us move from known candidate list to guided exploration of molecular possibility space. The future of discovery may depend less on faster scoring around and more on better exploration. So, so drug discovery is a sequence of filters, and AI has entered all layers of that process. Discovery is still exploration under uncertainty. So let me also talk a bit about our university, that is Digital University Kerala, and this is in Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, the southernmost part of India. And yeah, so we are a university for mainly for digital knowledge. So that's why it's called a digital university. So we have postgraduate programs across 5 schools. Computer science, we have artificial intelligence and cybersecurity as the main focus in the school. And the digital science, where all these science related things are focused. Basically, in all these cases, as I said, AI is entering into all science domains. And we have a course on bio AI where drug design, genomics, uh, next generation sequencing, AI for healthcare analytics, all these things are taught in this course. And then we have like computational modeling, fintech, product development by AI, all these things are. I belong to this school of digital science. Then we also have MBA school. We have environment electronic systems. So this is our hardware school where we specialize on VLSI design, chips, etc. And there is applied physics and applied materials also. And then we have informatics for environmental sciences. So we have highly interdisciplinary area within the digital space. Yeah, so we also have more of a work-oriented learning, so experiential learning, etc. And project which includes projects in all along the studies. All courses contain projects, capstone projects, and semester-wide projects, etc. And yeah, so this is. So we have also a community program, like the students go to the community and look for the problems in there and trying to propose digital solutions for that. Yes, admissions are open. And so, yeah, so these are some of the things we have done, like searching for a hydrocarbon fuel, which is the same logic, explore the space, and screen through the properties and then shortlist a few candidates. Yeah, so the same pipeline, generate the candidate, evaluate cheaply, evaluate carefully, and same logic can support therapeutic discovery. So, yeah, it's shorter than the time I gave, but if you have questions, I may take a few. So thank you all once again for listening, and thanks for inviting.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insightful and highly informative session. Now I would like to invite the participants to interact with our resource person. If you have any questions or doubts, please feel free to raise them now. You may either unmute yourself or post your questions in the chat box. Okay, I think there is no queries. If you have any queries, you can post that in the chat box.
It's quite different from the rest of the talk, I understand, and also from the audience expertise.
Okay.
Sir, how can AI be used to improve the medical teaching practitioners and simulation-based learning? Is there any simulation tools is available for giving teaching lessons through like AI applications are existing or not?
For teaching, uh, can you hear me?
Sir,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. Yeah, so I don't know about the particular domain where we can use AI tools, but AI in general is widely used in the education. Like even in the simple tools like ChatGPT have a module called Study and Learn. Hmm.
Okay.
So,
Whether any specific tool is used in digital university, that's what I am asking, sir.
okay. No, not really. But other than that, every teacher uses AI in their own way in teaching, like planning the lessons and even giving module for students to clarify their doubts, etc. We have not made a product for the teaching yet. Maybe we'll have such soon in future.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you for the information.
Okay, so then thank you all once again.
Yes, on behalf of all the participants, I extend our sincere gratitude to Professor Anubayapan for taking the time to share his valuable knowledge and expertise with us today. Thank you once again, sir. Okay, now let's move on to the next session with, within 5 minutes.
We have scheduled the panel discussion on 2:30 p.m. We are expecting the panelists on 2:30 onwards. So we will let all of you whether they available at the Zoom meeting, and let us begin at that time. Okay, thank you. Let's have a short break or up to that time.
It's the same link, right? Same.
Yes, same
Yeah.
link is used for the
Okay.
panel discussion.
Okay. Thanks.
Hello, was it you?
Yes, sir.
So if you are okay, we can start now.
Sir, Dr. Sriram has to be joined. After that, we can start.
Sure. Mr. Swami?
Mr. Sam is already there.
Hi, Mr. Swami. Hi, Mr. Nagana.
Yep. Hi.
So I may have to do the moderator role because Mr. Sajan Lal is not available in the last minute. So I will be
Yep.
doing that role today. Can you check whether Shriram is joining? Fine.
Sir, I called Sriram, sir. He will join within 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, he's already there.
Hi, Shriram. Shriram.
Hi,
So,
Shriram.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
yeah. Can we start now?
Yeah. Our team will give an introduction to the panel members and we will start the session.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Good afternoon, all. A warm welcome to everyone present here for the final session of our faculty development program. It gives me great pleasure to host today's validatory panel discussion on the topic AI in healthcare from innovation to impact. Our by our distinguished resource persons. Today's panel brings us all of them together to share their collective perspectives, making this session truly special and comprehensive.
Really, we are not able to hear.
We are honored. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it is
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
We are
breaking
honored
up
to
quite a
have.
bit.
So what? Sriram sir, what you talk?
You're breaking up quite a bit. We just can't, we're getting every other word.
Come nearer to the mic and speak.
Sorry, sir. We are honored to have.
Hello, am I audible?
We are honored to have eminent panel with us today.
Yes,
Is it audible,
Anjali,
sir?
you can proceed.
Am I audible?
Hello.
Yes,
This is
sir.
Dr.
You are audible.
Good. I'm just checking. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
We are honored to have an eminent panel with us today, Mr. Pathi Lakshmi Narayanan, an IIT alumnus and former global head at TCS and former ISRO scientist. Then second one is Ganna Channaviraya, a corporate medical director at HC Incorporated USA and ER physician with a deep expertise in healthcare and management. The third one is Dr. Vinay Modam, pediatric ICU physician and associate professor in Texas. The fourth one is Mr. Sriram Pudukuchi, founder and CEO at spintheory.ai USA. And fifth one is Dr. Sami Muktepadi, founder and director at Siago Solutions. Before we begin, I would like to give you a quick note on today's session. As you already know, a feedback form was already shared with the participants to collect the questions in advance. We have received several thoughtful questions which will be addressed during this session. Additionally, we also take few live questions from the audience towards the end of the session. Now, to take this discussion forward, I would like to invite Mr. Pathi Lakshmi Narayanan, who will be moderating today's panel discussion. Sir, I kindly request you to take over the session.
Thank you, Anjali. So, good afternoon, everyone. You know, the best moderation happens when someone is thrown into deep end without a float. So that is what exactly where I am today. So last minute, due to some unexpected thing, I was asked to do this role today. I will try to see how much I can manage and then honor to this role. So let me set the stage. We are living through a moment that will be written about in textbooks, your textbooks and the ones your students will read 10 years from now. Artificial intelligence is no longer knocking on the door of healthcare. It has walked in, sat down, and already changing how diseases are diagnosed, how surgeries are planned, how patient records are managed, and even how a doctor decides the right drug at the right dose for the right person. Think about this. An AI model today can detect the early stage of cancer in a scan faster, sometimes more accurately than a trained radiologist. An ambient AI scribe can listen to a doctor-patient conversation and automatically generate clinical notes. It is happening in America. Probably people, most of the panelists are there and they know that how Walgreens is using this kind of a technology already. At least I know Walgreens is using because I was one time doing some projects for them. So, so that is what the state today. That is what exactly where we are here today. And we have three exceptional panelists who will bring deep insight from different dimensions of the transformation. Together, we are going to explore how just an AI is going to, how not what AI is going to do for healthcare, but what it means for practitioners, for patients, and for policy makers. And yes, what is this for the consumers like us who are going to consume the healthcare services? The next generation of engineers also who are going to write programs, create systems for healthcare. What is in it for you? That is what I hope this panel discussion will help. And then, so faculty friends, listen with 2 ears, one for your today's insight, one for how this shapes what you teach tomorrow. So let us begin the session. And I will start with questions. Probably we'll go 3 rounds, and then we will see how it goes. and then if possible or not, we will go to next the fourth round. So the first question I would definitely see how we can to Mr. Nagana. So already the introduction is over. Nagana is a very expertise in data analytics and then data science, and then is there in US right now, and then is having a very good experience in that field. So I would like to start with him. We often see all success AI success stories, but what does the data journey behind those solutions really look like in healthcare?
Thank you so much for the very nice introduction, Anjali, and thank you, Mr. Pati, for moderating this panel. I'm Nagana, a working physician. So this AI healthcare, as you mentioned, is bringing a lot of changes everywhere, not just here in the United States, but across the globe. But it all always comes back to the data. So about 80% of the data is actually kind of used, and then it has to be curated and modified and then adjusted before any implementation can happen. So they use something like 70-30 rule and stuff like that. There are so many datas in the healthcare. It can start with the medical conditions itself, medical conditions with the subsets. Say, for example, somebody has a blood pressure. Is it a primary blood pressure? It is a secondary blood pressure. Secondary blood pressure secondary to somebody has a kidney problem or liver problem causing the blood pressure, or is the blood pressure is caused because of the pregnancy? So that's a one set of diagnostic data that the ICD-10 has made some improvement so that it is kind of agreeable across the globe, or some countries haven't been part of it, but overall, that is one of the ICD-10 diagnostic code data is something that is used. The other one is the about the vitals that includes five signs, that is temperature, respiratory rate, heart rate, blood pressure, and then the pain score. They had to be customized, and then we kind of separated out into each age group, like the children's, what is the difference versus the adults versus a pregnant. And to give an example, an athlete who runs like crazy, his heart rate runs in 40, but that is abnormal in a other regular healthy, regular guy who doesn't do much of exercise. So that data is another part of the repository that has to be analyzed by the AI to make sure that it is not misguided as something abnormal. The other thing, the other data includes the laboratory data. See, it always comes down to putting all these puzzles together to make the diagnosis. So this is where the biggest challenge for the AI developers is to how to separate the real data from the nuance. Nuance, one of the example that I gave you was about the athlete whose heart rate always runs at 40 and he has no problem, and then the system should not alert as something abnormal. How do you separate those things out? The other issue is regarding putting all this data together to come to a diagnosis, which is what we call as the reasoning or the validation. And this is where most of the AI can struggle with validating the data, because so much of input has to happen. This is where the human training and materialization might make a difference. So AI is still a long way to learn, but I'm sure it is getting there. Thank you.
Sure, good insight, Nagana. But what is the percentage of effort typically goes into data versus model building? So in your what do you see there?
Yep. So usually, some people say it is 80-20 rule versus 70-30 rule. So basically, collecting the data, putting all the data, screening the data, making it appropriate for each age and different conditions, and then putting into validation, and then putting into the building of the project itself. So really a lot of time is actually, gets into beginning phase, which is 80% is actually getting the data. So Sriram probably can give a little bit more insight when he talks about this one. When they have a project, say for example, I want to build an ICU model wherein patients with a who will develop a sepsis. Sepsis is like a severe infection of a patient. How do you want the AI to alert them? Alert the physician or the clinicians or the nurses that they actually don't, spill into a serious medical condition. How do you detect early on? So for that you had to put so many data points, and then to do that you had to have a lot of background data about what is a normal and abnormal, and then only you can validate them, test them, and then implementation is about 20% according to the reasonable sources. Some people even says it can take a longer time to implement, but the effort itself is about 20%. So 80-20 is usually the general rule for most of the AI companies when they try to get the data, acquire the data ingestion, cleaning, validation, and then go for the implementation, which is 20%. Thank you.
Thanks, Nagana. So quickly going to Swami, healthcare data is fragmented and noisy. What are the toughest data quality issues you encounter? Can you give some example?
So go ahead.
Yeah, please. No problems. Yeah. You wanted to say something, right?
No. So, Sami, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, see, my background, as I said, just like Dr. Anoop spoke earlier, is molecular modeling and computational chemist. Okay, and I work for the pharma industry. Obviously, it translates into the applications of drug molecules, which are existing molecules, and then you try to reduce the toxicity, or new molecules where the efficacy and all these things that we are talking about comes into play. So I'll talk from that perspective, and also a little bit of medical, from the medical angle. So the perspective of this fragmented data and difficulty of data, this is very nicely exhibited or seen in a technique which is called molecular docking, which Dr. Anup just spoke in the prior lecture. So the thing is that molecular docking, very quickly, I'll give you a gist of the whole story. Of course, Dr. Anup has also said, is how you see that the drug molecule interacts with the protein under consideration. Okay, so for example, we were talking about a particular type 2 diabetes target. Okay, there are several protein targets that we are considering, and then you want to see how the drug molecule goes and binds to the active site of the protein. And there, the way you study is by a technique called molecular docking. This is a very old technique now. I mean, it's been beaten to death, to be very frank with you. Now, the real lacuna, like what you were saying about the data and the correlation of the data with the actual experiments, is that when you have a set of data, a set of promising lead molecules, and you are trying to rank order them or prioritize them using these kind of techniques, these are actually called virtual screening methods, and what docking is just one of them. You find a basic problem that the actual activity in the lab, so the activity could be in vitro activity, it could be in vivo also, but I'm talking, let's say, in vitro cell line data that you have, that activity in terms of inhibitory constant, there are some metrics in which it is expressed. But you see that a very simple language, if I want to put it, is that a very highly active molecule doesn't have a very good docking score, for example. Okay, so you have done a docking, you expect that the score should be good enough to reflect its behavior in terms of the therapeutic activity. It doesn't happen that way. So so you have to look within. So the point is that these numbers in terms of docking score and all that is just a quantification, but it is not the actual insight into what is happening between the molecule of interest, the drug molecule of interest, and the protein, how they're interacting. So there are much more details that you need to get into. Like, for example, you need to see what are the binding interactions happening between the drug molecule of interest, and the protein active site amino acid residues, which are lining up the active site. So the binding interactions is much more key rather than just at a number, which is a binding score. So many times you will find that there is a molecule which is behaving poorly in terms of the docking score, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a less potent drug. It might have a better interaction. It could lead to a better molecule. So this is just an example that I'm trying to give you. But I have some medical friends, okay, in UK, and I need to see this and tell you, because it's not my everyday cup of tea. So I have my good medical friends in US and UK, and this one is a very famous urologist, Dr. Prokar Dasgupta, who is a key person in responsible AI in UK. So responsible AI or RAI UK, one of the pioneer people leading it is Dr. Prokar Dasgupta. He's a very famous urologist in prostate cancer and robotic surgery in prostate cancer. So I have input from him. I'm just sharing this if it is useful for you. Is dark and skin pore results. This is dermatology. Dark skin and pore results with oxygen saturation probes. This is what he says as my good friend. I mean, you might be able to correlate better. There are some doctors over here, which is also an example of what you are asking. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Thanks, Swami. And then it was very revealing information you are given. So, can you share where we can should there be any no-go threshold where AI should not be used due to poor data? So, do you have any metrics to see? And then, what is the value you would put it that this is what this metric should be this much level, and then if it is not, then data is a junk. Something like that. Whether you'll be able to give some.
Yeah. So yeah, there are always cutoffs in any kind of modeling work that you are doing, because otherwise you feed in garbage and you get in garbage. So it's not a zero situation at all. So the thing is that if you ask me what is that cutoff, well, I'll tell you from a different angle. Okay, so let me tell you one thing, that when we are talking about the data size, for example, when you're talking about the data size over which you are trying to develop training set models, and I think Dr. Nagana just talked about 80-20. So it could be 60-40, 80-20, 70-30. At the worst, it could be 50-50. But the whole point is that your training should be in such a way that it is able to predict the test set nicely, and not only the test set nicely, new molecules. Because in my paradigm, there are new molecules. Dr. Anup was talking a little while back about AI in drug discovery, and we are more interested in not just the known data. The known data is just there to build the models, okay, the training set models. What is important is how you extrapolate that for newer molecules. That is where the new chemical space or the IP, intellectual property rights, come in. That is, you are trying to design new molecules. Now, the whole point is that if your training is not good enough, then you cannot expect any good prediction for the newer molecules. For that, there are some cutoffs. So obviously, the population size here, population size doesn't mean patient population. We are talking about the molecular population. Okay, so the molecular population that you are handling for any kind of statistical predictions should be typically, let's say, in terms of the molecules, let's say 30 molecules or 50 molecules, known molecules with a good data set to start with. And that is not just the only criteria or the number of molecules, but also their activity or efficacy, as we put it, okay, their actual drug activity. That should be also in a nice Gaussian kind of distribution. That means you have highly potent molecules, less potent molecules, and medium also, so that training becomes evenly distributed, and so that it captures new molecules that you'd like to filter through this model and try to predict meaningfully. Yeah.
Thank you. And we will go to Sriram now with curious question. How do bias and lack of representativeness in healthcare data affect AI outcome?
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me again. And I'm not I have to warn you, I'm not a practicing physician. I'm not a physician. Not forget about practicing. I'm not a physician, so if I use any medical terms with some liberty, please pardon me. So it's so good to be back. So on this question, right? I think the first thing to understand, I think that when AI generally fails, right? Mm-hmm. It just fails disproportionately. It doesn't, where the data is at the weakest, right? And that sort of leads us to believe, the models generally learn from who or what is in the data, right? And if a population is generally unrepresented or systemically different, performance drops, right? And we see this time and again. And errors are not biased. Errors are not at random. I mean, they're biased because of what we feed these algorithms, right? And I often say AI is not a magic; it's a tool.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And some of the, I guess some of the biases and lack of representativeness in healthcare lead to some examples of outcomes could be missed diagnosis, right? And AI doesn't see patterns in unrepresented groups. And this has been studied time and over again. And higher false negatives for people who need care might be missed, right? And the second one is possibly uneven accuracy, right? It works well for majority of the populations and poorly for others. Then that leads to quality of care becoming inconsistent, right? And wrong risk prioritization. So the other day I talked about preventive care and building some sort of risk-based modeling, right? And with bias, the danger is some groups risk underestimated, others overestimated, right? Which means the resources can go to the wrong citizens, wrong patients, might go to the wrong people, right? And that's the risk. And it just reinforces existing, inequalities. I mean, and AI learns from historical data, and historical data probably already has some bias, right? And old biases generally get automated and scaled, right? And blind spots like missing data, entire communities sometimes get ignored, right? And prevention programs, miss high risk groups and whatnot. And ultimately, it's loss of trust, right? And it's inconsistent and unfair outcomes. And the clinicians and patients will stop trusting the system, right? And there are time and again, there are several studies which have been done to sort of show some of this bias in healthcare, even beyond healthcare, um, um, police department. There were some studies that were done which unfairly identified certain races as being high risk than others, with image recognition and whatnot. Human resources, there is some bias in human resources. Certain type of roles, the AI algorithm tends to pick certain colored people over the others, even though that they have provided, the data was actually provided to force the algorithm to pick something else. It still picked the one with the bias and whatnot. So there've been studies time and again done, and bias is a big deal.
Okay. So bias is definitely a thing, and then it is to be watched out when you are putting in data. And then it is not easy, and then it is difficult because it is coming with historical data. Got your point, to follow up there, have you seen cases where models worked well for one population but failed for another?
Yeah, I think, for example, right, there are like skin cancer detection models currently available, like at least majority of them. They're trained mostly on light skin images, right? And they perform really well for light skin. But what happens is they might miss melanomas in darker skins, right? So that is one example. During COVID, for COVID care, the pulse oximeters were less accurate for people with darker skin. And that studies have been done, and it's been established that they were less accurate for people with darker skin, and overestimated oxygen levels, and potentially delaying critical care, right? And we have several studies like this, like kidney care algorithms. There's in U.S. hospitals, at least in some of the major healthcare systems, underestimated the risk for Black patients who historically had less access, which means if they had historically less access, there is less data in the system to train with, to start with. And it underestimated risk in certain race for kidney care, right? And you go time and again. I mean, I think Dr. Nagana said sepsis, right? And for sepsis also, there are some examples and research done, models. Sepsis was trained in large urban settings, urban hospitals, right? And what they found was that that the performance was poor in smaller and rural settings because this was mainly trained in urban settings for sepsis, right? And it is different patient profiles plus data quality. I think is what hopefully tightens up. The accuracy I will say accuracy will never be 100%. But at least if we can give good variety of data, good context, and get good representation of sampling and understand the environment, and then operate, then I think that bias can work well with acceptable level of accuracy. I'm not going to say there is nothing called perfect, but at least acceptable. The risk is understood, risk is accepted, and then it could be useful.
Thanks, Sriram. Thanks, Sriram. That is a good kind of thing. And then definitely the data bias. For example, we cannot use the data which is available about Americans and then using that one in Indians and then see that whether any prediction can be done. A lot of things. Definitely, you know that it is very important to have, especially in healthcare, data which is related to the particular location and then location people data. Otherwise, often there will be some kind of a mismatch in the results, whatever the model is giving. So having said that, let me go to Swami again, asking many AI healthcare projects success as pilots but fall in production. Why does this happen so frequently? And then you know that only 20% of the projects are successful, 80% of the projects are not moving from POT to production. So what is your view on that?
Yeah, I think the thing is that once again, as I said, that the in pilot projects, whatever is being done should be realistic enough so that it translates to the practical scenario. And actually, the thing is that so far as this translation thing is concerned, okay, there are two things here: the understanding of the technology limitations, and of course the organizational readiness to accept that there are limitations and what needs to be done to mitigate them. So the technological limitations, once again, I would say that depends on, of course, since we are talking about the data sets, how realistic is the data set in terms of mapping the actual picture. So a lot of things are involved over here. So when you say that the data set is representative of the real situation, it should have, if in my domain, if I talk about, then it should have, let's say for a given therapeutic use and a given target and a set of molecules which are known to bind with an activity data known, you should have a reasonable, as I said, spread of the molecules in terms of their activity, whether they're highly active, medium active, or low active, so that the training happens in such a way that the failure rate gets, I cannot say zero because nothing is a perfect situation, but the failure rate is minimized. So that's why the data set which is being chosen to be fed into the model is extremely important. It could be any data. I mean, in my case, it's molecular data. In case of clinical data, it's clinical data, as a situation may be. So this is what is one of the things. The other thing, since we are talking about now from pilot to actual production and then the failure, I would also like to say one small thing in this regard, and it is very typical of my domain, but I think it can be mapped, or there are some take-home lessons for this. So the thing is, you see, when we do molecular modeling in the way that people mostly do here and also to a certain extent abroad, is talking about targets of interest, that means protein targets, of course, and for therapeutic use, and the corresponding active molecules, or basically the molecules which are potential molecules to go and bind and show their activity over there. Now the point is that this kind of approach of what we call as computer aided drug design actually is incomplete. because this is 50% of the story. The remaining 50, or not even 50% of the story. Let's say it is 40% of the story. Out of the remaining 60%, I can divide it into two parts. One part, 30%, is about the toxicity and the side effects of this molecule. So, and the remaining 30%, that means that to complete the entire 100%, is very, very important. Study the biochemical pathways that are involved. So, what is covered in our in our language, we call them as systems biology. So, in the systems biology, you actually study the different biochemical pathways where the molecules go and interact with the different targets, and it is not just one target. So, in docking and all, we are considering one target. That's the lacuna. So whenever you are trying to make it holistic so that your failure rate, I'm saying all this with that background, the failure rate is minimized. So you need to study it much more holistically. My message is that the study should be as holistic as possible. Therefore, you have to take into account the side effects, the toxicities, and I work currently on the genotoxicity aspects of any damn molecule in the market that we are talking about. It could be azithromycin, it could be metformin, it could be sitagliptin, it could be any damn molecule in the market. What are the side effects or toxicity of that molecule in terms of carcinogenicity and mutagenicity? We are studying, that's my present area of interest, and I'm working on that. My own company does that. So, of course, we employ AI methods to do that. But all I'm trying to say is that it should be as holistic as possible. It should not be just a target of your interest, like, for example, type 2 diabetes, DPP4, PPR, gamma. These are the, typical targets. We are studying binding. Maybe we are studying 3-4 targets, but that's not the complete picture, you see. So you need to study the side effects, toxicity. You need to see the biochemical pathways. That means systems biology. So I say always like this in my lecture. This is one hand, okay? The usual molecular modeling that we are doing with the targets and all that. And this is the other hand of the systems biology. And only when you clap, you get a result.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Swami. But the problem generally is it is organizational readiness, enterprise readiness also matters when it comes for the production phasing or we from POC to production. So if only one small set of project, some small set of people are doing models and then AI employment, the deployment they are doing, if the data is not interconnected, the cultural change of the organization has not happened. If the leadership or the CXO levels, the leadership sponsorship is not there, these projects will fail. It is all soft corner. It is definitely not a technology limitation today, whether the AI will be successful or not. The failure mainly depends on whether you are having a right data, access to the right data, whether you are having grounding based on some of the company data or the product data which is available for you to ground like a RAG. Then whether you are having a complete cultural change as well as enterprise readiness and then leadership sponsorship, those things are also really matter. I would say that when we are moving a project from POC to production.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. In case I want to add a little bit to what you said just now. So in the pharma world, in the Indian market, in the scenario, Dr. Reddy's is one of the companies we have worked with them and many others also. It's a very long term vision, and with this kind of organizational readiness that you are talking about. So there have been a lot of failures that they have faced, but they have tried to overcome them with the same kind of organizational readiness that you're talking about. Yeah, to the best possible extent.
Thank you, Swami. And then over to Nagarna, I want to ask one question to you is, high-profile efforts like IBM Watson and healthcare struggle to deliver expected clinical impact. And then everybody knows that IBM created some kind of a model and then given to a practitioner, but it was not working. Finally, it was withdrawn. So it is just a sample. But can you give some kind of a lesson learned where you have seen some failure of the AI models?
Okay, that's an excellent question. Probably one of the best, what we call as a flap in the AI. It was highly invested company. Highly hyped company means they really kind of hyped up so much that it's gonna make a magic. They actually showed in the commercials that it actually does like a magic. Like somebody gives a touching point to the patient and the patient gets cured. So that's not how it turned out to be. It was overhyped. It was never accepted by the clinician. This was done out of the one hospital. I think Sriram really nailed this one. Some of the studies are done in a big hospital and they try to translate into smaller hospital. It never works out. So this was done at the Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital, one of the the best world renowned cancer facility. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi went there and got the treatment for her medical condition. So what happened was they were abstracting the data that includes the physician's notes, getting the physician's notes and making it kind of reusable data was a big task. They somehow bumped it and they said, okay, we'll clean it and then we'll just make it happen. Then they went to try to validate it. They had to validate with accurately because see, the cancer care is so personal that any misguided adventure in that field brings the problems with the trust issue, especially in the healthcare. So that's when the patient started losing the trust with the providers who were depending on this IBM Watson model to tell what to do next without the full picture of clinical implementation. So the clinicians were frustrated, administrators started pushing more and more, it just broke up the system. So the lessons learned were that basically you need to have the human in loop. That means the clinicians who are actually sitting in front of the patients should accept this system before it gets pushed into the system. And then your data has to be accurate. They were pulling some data from about the cancer care that used to happen in the past, and it wasn't really kind of reactivating to the current models where there was so much of advanced technology. Obviously, they were pulling a lot of data here and there and trying to make like a concoction that did not pan out. The lesson learned was it was a $4 billion failure.
Mhm.
I think you guys mentioned that sometimes you make a great medication. Like one of the example is the Vioxx, great for osteoarthritis.
Yes.
It was fanfare affair everywhere. They sponsored so much of parties, so much of everything. And then when it comes into the implementation, then they started realizing a lot of patients having the heart attack, and then they had to pull out of the market because
Yes.
it was causing problem. So when we let this AI do this one, this was a human error. Obviously, it was all done by the humans, computers modeling and whatnot. But when you put that one into the AI model, it just accelerates things, and that's where the lessons learned is your data has to be crystal clear,
Yes.
or at
Yes.
least
Yes.
what Sriram says, near perfect data before you go for the implementation. That's the one of the key takeaway from this IBM Watson, what we call as a debacle. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayana. So now over to Sriram. What are the hidden challenges in integrating AI into your hospital workflows and legacy systems?
Yeah, just want to piggyback on what Mr. Nagana said. I think with all the AI hype, there is an urge to fit AI where it doesn't belong, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that AI generally fails less because of algorithms and more because it doesn't fit into a hospital system and or workflows, right? There is this urge to jam it in because of all the wonderful hype that is out there, and that is generally seen as the one of the top reasons why like something like integrating AI into a healthcare system fails. But we talk through data issues, right? Generally, in any hospital setting, healthcare setting, the data is highly fragmented. It's multiple systems, but don't talk to each other, which is pretty common. And the algorithms cannot get clean and unified data a lot of times, right? And second is workflow disruption, and this is overlooked a lot of times. And AI tools for anything to be successful in not just a hospital setting, any enterprise, the tools have to fit naturally into the routines. If it is extra click, if it is extra work, if it adds additional overhead, the adoption is not going to be there. The adoption is going to be low. The general human instinct across any setting, not just healthcare, right? And three is data quality. I think we talked through data quality. I think enough, so I'm not going to talk through that. Legacy system constraints. So a lot of hospitals, healthcare systems, and every enterprise has legacy systems that have been around for a while, old infrastructure, not built to scale for AI, not built to scale, forget about real time, but not even built to scale for more timely, for more current data, you know. And integrations are generally slow and costly, and they're very fragile a lot of times because of all these legacy systems. And you look at Mayo, you look at Cleveland Clinic, you look at Stanford Stanford Medical, you look at any big hospital, they have so many legacy systems and that have all these issues. Even though they're top-notch hospitals, they still have all these issues, right? And there are a couple of more things I want to mention. There's trust and explainability gaps generally. In any setting, people, including clinicians, don't trust black box outputs.
Absolutely.
It needs to be explainable. Why is something the algorithm recommending certain thing, and why is that, right? And that therefore it creates resistance to using AI in decisions, right? And there is obviously regulatory and compliance friction, right? And
Yes,
data
yes.
privacy approvals, audit requirements
Absolutely.
means slow deployment of this, right? And then a big aspect is also change management, right? And there is all this talk about AI taking jobs and this job and the other job and all of that. So staff training, behavioral change, accountabilities are now unclear. Tools exist, but they don't get used. And we see that through our consulting with several companies. We see that went and bought tools that are not being used. And that's because the problem hasn't been defined and quantified in the first place. And someone went and bought the tool and thought that could solve the problem, right? And that doesn't work that way, right? So I think that some of these are sort of the challenges of integrating AI into not only hospital workflows, but as critical as a hospital workflow, but even in the other enterprise settings.
How do you feel whether doctors are really supporting AI? Or they started using it from your knowledge? Or there is a resistance, okay, this is a tool, it's a tool. I don't want to look at it. What kind of
Yeah, I think what I've seen is that the doctors embrace AI when it works like a silent assistant, if you will, a helper, that an assistant that will make the lives easier, automates things, makes it more reliable, takes off the administrative work from their plate, and all of that. And the resistance is when it behaves like another system they have to manage, extra overhead. Physician burnout, I think, at least in US, is a big deal, right? Is a big factor. And anything that adds to their burnout is not likely to get their attention, right? So generally, that is what I've seen. And when doctors see AI as a support, is reduces, like I said, reduces routine work, documentation, triaging, image pre-reads, improves decision confidence, like risk scoring, second opinions, saves them time, right? And fits seamlessly into their workflow, not add additional extra steps, is where I've seen it. Where I've seen the adoption being high. And it feels like a clinical assistant of some sort, right? And when I've seen that, the adoption is when it acts like a disruption, right? Adds friction, which is extra clicks, extra alerts, separate systems they have to go into, lacks transparency. We talked through the black box recommendations. the explainability has to be there. And if there is no explainability, there is obviously lack of transparency and trust, right? That is where there is some resistance. And inconsistent outputs, obviously, and the questionable accuracy, right? With all the experience that physicians have, they can spot inaccuracies very, very quickly. And if the algorithms routinely spit out inaccurate results or inconsistent outputs, then there is some friction. And the last aspect, what I've seen is the perceived loss of autonomy or liability concerns, right? And that is a big deal, right? And as long as the AI is not competing, right? It is helping make the process better, allows doctors to do what doctors are good at, which is care, and acts as assistant to speed things up, automate things, and that can take on the administrative burden and risk in some cases. That is where I've seen the less adoption.
That is an
Yeah,
excellent. That's an excellent point, Sriram, that you mentioned. I've been here in this country for 29 years, and I have used nearly about 10 electronic health records. Healthcare is easy. Healthcare delivery is the hardest part. You try to fix that healthcare delivery with so many small tools, then it becomes a burden actually for the clinician to do the simple care, which is a medical care. And you are actually correct, the clinicians can point out this problem. Like, I would get an alert about some medication that I've been using it for 20 years, about alert, like how many alerts I need to click before I actually submit this medication to the pharmacy, that the pharmacy can give the medication to the patient, and the patient is standing in front of me. Takes several minutes to catch that hurdle, and then they had to shut down that system. So I
Yeah.
hope the AI will not repeat the same thing what the electronic health record went through. Thanks. Excellent points.
very good, Nagana. It is a good follow up whatever Sriram was telling. So it is definitely the question leading to what almost Sriram has touched this one. But healthcare data is highly sensitive. You know that. How do privacy regulations and constant framework shape up AI system design? So have you come across any regulatory things which is having some kind of a restriction on using of the data or whatever it is in the process of using AI model and then data ingestion, etc.
Yep. So we do. In fact, there are a state level regulation, and then there are federal regulation. One of the biggest one is the HIPAA rule, where the consent management, wherein every interaction that happens between the patient and the provider has to have a consent. That's why when you go to a clinic or the doctor's office or the hospital, they will always get you what you call as a blank consent. We will use this data for the medical treatment, management, and also get the reimbursement, and even some even include research. Okay, so this research is the part that's where most of the AI companies are working with the hospital, coming up with the extracting the data, not necessarily the personal data, which has its own separate, the legal terminology, that you cannot share the name, the name of the person associated with the date of birth and associated with the social security number or other card back in India there. Things like that, that should not be shared, but other data can be shared across for the treatment or for investigative purposes. So Colorado, which is one of the middle part of the state, is one of the first one to came up with this AI technology limitations. What can happen? What should not happen? We have different states, even in states like big state like California, they have put a lot of restrictions on that. The AI cannot come up with any algorithm without involvement of the human rights, without involvement of the race, without involvement of um, the uh, the um, the different population in a pool before they release the data. In New York, they have what called as a RISE Act, which is Awareness of the Artificial Intelligence Safety and Education Act, which was actually passed in December of 2025, wherein it gives a lot of leeway for the state to limit the what the AI can do and cannot do, and they have to pass through what is a screen box. And this has something to do with the shadow data and also the data that's not been kind of managed. So you basically giving an authority for the AI to kind of dissect and analyze and give a throughput. Also, there are some states that would Google is actually building a biggest data center in Lincoln, which is in the middle of nowhere, one of the biggest data center in the United States. And the reason is they want to put all the Midwestern data, what they're doing with the Gemini, only in the Midwestern, because each does not want to cross over from one continent or one sector to the other, the area. So that's a fragmented data in one area rather than going across. Other countries like Denmark also has a lot of restrictions on the AI. China also has CAC and like an authority which actually manages all the output of the AI data regarding what is a red line that should not be crossed. If they put out any data, whether it is something created by the AI, they had to notify this was done by AI versus it's actually done by the humans and it has been validated. Um, all in all, overall, if there is a lot of regulation, it comes with a lot of catch 22, means that it will hinder the innovation. But it also comes with, like, if there is a regulation, there is likely adoption and also very likely the faith in the system. So if they say it's being cleared the hurdle, like a federal hurdle of this regulation, that means this data is accurate, it is usable, and the clinician as well as the patient can trust. So the one of the biggest one is the HIPAA rule, Healthcare Portability Accountability Act. It does. The problem is these are all, as Shira mentioned, some of the legacy system laws that has not been applied for the fast growing AI, and I'm pretty sure at the federal level, the Trump administration has proposed some regulations. It is coming to fruition. We don't know when that's going to happen, but it's going to likely to put some what we call as a jockeying on the horse, because the horse is going very fast with this AI. Thanks.
You are right. HIPAA is working because these AI models are working. It is giving a lot of extra work for HIPAA regulators, as well as in India also. It is not bad, and then India has come out with a lot of regulatory act from the data privacy, and then how the data can be used, the personal data, Indian Digital Personal Data Protection (DRDP) Act, and then that is also very much in force. But I would say that it is a big competition between technology as well as the model owners as well as the privacy protectors for what they want to protect. So this is going to be there for some time, and then definitely some kind of a consensus will happen, because without data they can't do anything. If you're not able to share data, how the model will work, and then how we can share the data without affecting the personal information. This is always a challenge. I think models will go through that challenge over a period of time. It will take some more years to get it matured. So over to Sami, how do you balance accuracy, explainability, and trust when AI systems are used in clinical decision? So what kind of a view you are having, how this balance is happening? Aptly, the previous question is going into the next question to you, Sami. Over to you.
Yeah, I think somewhat this has been covered by one of our panelists a little while back, but I would still like to say regarding the black box aspect. Firstly, again, my area is not clinical at all, but I can map it, and I have again my medical friends to talk about. So let me just tell you one small example in this regard. Maybe it would make more sense. You see, the field of robotic surgery that I was talking about, I'm personally interested because my friend is there, he works on that. But the robotic surgery has become a little bit uh, quite common nowadays. It was not like that maybe a couple of years back. But the absolutely latest thing that's going on, and I'm sure the medical doctors here would know that, is telesurgery. So telesurgery, and I want to give this example specifically because my friend is there, of course, in UK, but this is an very important area. It was there 20 years back, but it made a comeback because this is now coupled or merged with robotic surgery, so that the both see robotic surgery, the robot is there, okay, Da Vinci, whatever robotic systems you are using, the doctor is also there in the same room, the patient is there. This is one thing, one paradigm. The other paradigm is the doctor is sitting in UK, let's say in London, and the patient is in Shanghai, Beijing, or maybe in California for that matter. Okay, so it could be so thousands of kilometers apart, and robot is doing the thing, but doctor is at a different location altogether. This is telesurgery 2.0 making a comeback in a big way, merged with robotic surgery. Now, why I'm giving this example is because this could be black boxes for the patients. Now patients are already familiar with the robotic surgery, they're a bit more let's say comfortable with that, okay, but not so with telesurgery. So the feedback that I'm getting from my medical friends in the responsible AI in UK for telesurgery is that volunteers are much lesser. They would rather prefer a robotic surgery with the doctor in the same OT rather than doctor sitting thousands of kilometers apart. So they have to be explained the nuances, the pros and cons of this to make them. So it's not a black box at all. For example, another side point on this is 3D imaging. So you understand this is a very interdisciplinary area. So image processing is there, high speed, accurate 5G, 6G, dedicated network should be there, which should not fail, obviously. And by the way, China, as always, China has made a lot of leaps in this area, even before UK and US has been doing this thing. I mean, has made a comeback on this. But coming back to the point, the patient should be well aware or made aware of the pros and cons of these approaches so that they gain more confidence. That's the whole idea I'm trying to say. So whether it's 3D imaging being used so that the doctor has a much better feel for the organs being operated upon, even though they are thousands of kilometers apart. So this is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think we are coming to the conclusion part of this session. So I would probably say that healthcare is ready for AI, but not for AI alone. The safest, most practical path forward is clearly a human plus AI hybrid model, because this is very sensitive. We are talking with data and healthcare of the human being. So it is more and more sensitive. No government is going to allow completely, entirely AI model taking decision and then doing a lot of things. That is not going to be the model which will be preferred by many of the countries, including India. So AI assisted or human being overseeing the decisions of the model is the only thing which I feel that it is going to be there going forward. AI is extremely powerful in handling large-scale data, identifying patterns, and providing decision support. But healthcare is not just a data problem. Everybody knows that. It involves uncertainty, ethics, empathy, and accountability. We cannot have an hallucination. We cannot have a kind of a drift, and then which is going to create problem for the predictions and then diagnosis and then what kind of medicines are prescribed, etc. So if AI is used alone, that is a big risk. Till it is there, they are all areas where human judgment is very still critical. So the human definitely will be there, and then AI will definitely help human doctors to do operation, radiologists to find out whether the prediction of any diseases, or even in the administration of healthcare, bigger way AI is going to use, and then get the records, get the data about a person and a pattern about what is happening in a particular environment, particular race. All the things is possible by using AI. So instead of asking whether AI can replace human, the better question is how AI can augment clinicians, so clinical practitioners. So that should be the goal, and then reduce cognitive load. As somebody told, we cannot have a more load for using this AI because they have to put additional effort. That should not be the case. Improve accuracy and support faster decision while keeping humans in control of critical outcome. That is going to be the right model. I believe every country is going to adopt that. Ayushman Bhava, which is the Indian government initiative. Be aware, definitely a lot of AIs are going to be implemented, and then they will definitely going to take care of these things, I'm sure, about how AI can assist the practitioner, not the other way. With this, I would like to invite for some few questions. We are having lesser time, but a couple of questions we can take. Thanks for the panelists. It was a very interesting, and then your experience speaks how to make this session. You made this session very interesting. Thanks for all the panel members first. So we will go to the question. Probably we will not be having much time. So I'm looking for a couple of questions. Swain, can you please help?
Sir, there are some questions in the chat box. Can you see that?
Yeah, I don't know, but chatbot, everybody is able to see whether somebody has to pick up the question, because who will be able to answer the question from the panel members we have to see. Anybody is reading?
The question is that, sir, the question is there is a medical monitor necessary for an IoT system that just show data, not image. I will repeat. Is a medical monitor necessary for a IoT system that just show data, not images?
I don't get the question. Anybody?
So basically, they are saying that the images versus the other clinical data, does somebody has to monitor it? Well, it has to be monitored because this is how you're building the models, right? So if the data is not accurate in terms of, say, if it is just a heart rate variation from one person to another person, whether that has to correlate with the diagnosis that you're spilling out, that will lead it to you to give the treatment outcome for the patient. So somebody has to oversee that one. It is the same thing with the images too. Like the radiology, I think in my original first talk I talked about how the radiologist are could be the chopping block, because the New York healthcare system said that they're going to fire all the radiologists and only will have few radiologists to monitor the AI system to read all the AI generated or AI read images, and then they will sign off on it. More of an administrative oversight. And all the physicians said, no way, this is not going to happen. So they still need a human monitor, which we call it as a human in the loop, before it goes into the production and also put into use. Thank you.
Okay, next question is my basic point of AI tools. I will take this question, it's fine. Smartphone, and one can take a picture of any report, can upload in ChatGPT to analyze. Now the problem is everyone is judging the doctor prescription or opinion based on the ChatGPT report. In this context, how do you educate the people? Whom to be educated?
So I can take this. This is a great example. I think I tried to answer to. I think this question came from G. Parameswaran, if I'm not mistaken. I have
Sorry,
encountered
sir.
this one.
I'm Ramesham.
Ramesham. Yep. So, thank you. Thank you, Ramesham. So I have encountered this one where they, one of the study recently that was published out of the Ohio, nearly 54% of the people are actually using ChatGPT to get the type of the symptom, type of what they have, and then it spells out all what they think it is. Before this, the Google used to do that, right? So we used to call Google doctor. And then they would come to the ERs like, I got this lesion, and then it says that it could be cancerous. Can you fix it in the middle of the night? It's like, okay, let's take one step backwards. How did you came up with this? So it took a lot of education on our part to educate the patients, and it's going to take a while to, for the whole population. But the bottom line is, people are getting in the system, learning it. This is another way up that I was saying, that the AI is going to replace the workforce of the doctor. It actually increases the workload of the doctor, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So lot more uncertainty. They will come to an expert and say, is this true or not? So this is likely, we're going to go through this phase for a couple of years till it actually refines it and makes it a granular data to believe it, and then say, yeah, this is what the Google says. I probably have a sore throat. It will get better. I don't have to go to the doctor immediately, versus something that I have this look like, serious, something like a cancer or so whatever, that I need to take care of it immediately. So we're going to go through this phase. Thank you.
Thanks also. In continuation to the same question, like even not only analyzing the reports and like giving sort of decision on that, but even ChatGPT and even other AI tools also prescribing the medicine. This can be used for this sort of symptoms and all. So like how that will have impact on the system, because based on the severity or the criteria sort of thing, doctor will prescribe also it. So can we delimit it to only the prescription or analytical part of it, or even if it is good to continue go with the even prescription of medicines also?
So I do not believe that it will prescribe a what you call as a controlled prescriptions. I will give you an example. You go to Mexico, you can get any medications, pharmacies. In India, some of the like antibiotic and everything, you could go to the pharmacist, tell, and then they will give it to you. Here in the United States, there are certain prescription that has to be prescribed by a provider, clinician. But there are also so many over the counter medications. Say, for example, in India, you got paracetamol. Here, they call it as Tylenol. You got Benadryl. There are so many medication you can get over the counter. Chat GPT tend to recommend those medication which were called common condition treatments. It does not tell what kind of it should not prescribe. It can give you an advice. It's like, consider getting an antibiotic, say amoxicillin for a sore throat. It can give an advice, but I don't think it has an authority to prescribe the medication. Correct me if I'm wrong, from India, Sammy, Pathy, if that's what's happening in India. But here it can give a guidance, but it cannot prescribe. Thank you.
True, true, true.
But
With
sir,
that, we will come to an end. And then thanks for the panel. Thanks for the opportunity, Jyothi Engineering College. And then just to add here, we cannot avoid technology to bloom. People, and then every technology is having its own limitation. And then ChatGPT also is right that ChatGPT can make mistake. It is the education what the common man should have, where to and what to rely on, and then when to go for a doctor. With that, definitely I will close this session. Thanks for joining. We will see in some other workshop like this. All the best for all the faculties. I believe the faculties enjoyed this session, and then last 6 days of the whatever the workshop has happened, and many people talked, and then hope that will help you to see what are all the things generally the future leaders of the future engineers wants, and then to define your syllabuses, the way in which you want to communicate and teach your students also. All the best, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pati sir, and thank you to all our esteemed panel members for such an insightful and engaging discussion. Thank you all, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thanks.
Before we conclude, we kindly request the participants to share your valuable feedback about the FDP. Your feedback is very important to us and help us improving future programs. Dear participants, can you please share your feedback about the overall FDP?
Good evening,
Participants,
ma'am.
yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Parameshwari from Nanda Engineering College, E Road, Tamil Nadu district. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Really, the entire session from first day to till date, all the session was very wonderful and nice, ma'am. And clear information about AI healthcare concepts were delivered by all the resource persons, and kindly share all the PPT and recorded video to our mail. It will be very useful for us. Actually, I am doing my research work in this area. I am waiting for publication of paper. So yesterday, the ma'am, Siva Priyanka ma'am, actually, the very wonderful session handled by this person, and all delivered information was very, very informative and useful. Whether it is possible, can you allow us to visit your college, and what kind of um, COE lab and different lab facilities available in your college, whether it is possible to visit us, kindly inform me. Surely I will come and visit, because we are going to enhance our COE in embedded system and IoT lab upcoming semester. So all budget was sanctioned by our institution. So really, I was wondered and enjoyed all the sessions. Thank you once again for all give me an opportunity to attend this kind of program. So kindly help me if any other support is required in future regarding my research work. Kindly support me. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Parameshwar, ma'am, we are very thankful to you. You are always welcome to our campus. Jyothi Engineering College is at Kerala, Thrissur. We are also planning to have an FDP on this regards on May 21st onwards. I just shared this details about the FDP. You can see over the I think so. Can you see that?
Yes, yes.
No, sir.
We can see it on the screen.
We are planning
Yes.
to we are planning to have an FDP from May 21st to 27 on our AI and ML based healthcare research tools, trends, challenges, and intelligent medical system in association with the NIT Manipur. We have eminent personalities from the NIT Manipur and our resource persons also. We will share the brochure and other details through this group, and we will inform all the participants. We kindly request all of you to join this session also. It will be beneficial for all the persons who are interested in healthcare researchers. We request all you to be the part of the FTP. Thank you,
Anybody
ma'am.
else want? Thank
Yes.
you, ma'am. Anybody else want to share the feedback?
Yes, ma'am, may I?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Myself, Anush Kumar, I'm a postgraduate teacher in Kendriya Vidyalaya, IIT Kharagpur. And actually, I am from a non-medical background, and recently I've been told to teach AI to biology students of class 11 and 12. So I was finding it very, very difficult to make bio students enthusiastic about the subject. But after attending this session, I think I have a very clear idea, and almost all the theories that I have learned in AI and ML, that how we can teach our students at this level to make them aware and encourage them to learn AI from the core basics of their classes. Like before going to their medical colleges, even they can start many things that can help them in to make them future ready for AI. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. One more information for all participants. We will share all the materials and the recordings and YouTube streaming links will in through mail within this week, and the certificate of participation according to the rules of the college will be shared to your mail ID. Not by mail ID, we will create a software and we will share the link of that website. You can download the certificates from there by using your mail IDs and date of birth, or mobile number. We will inform you through the WhatsApp group and mail ID. You will get that within this week. I request all the queries regarding the certificates and other materials may be cut short. You will get those things within this week. Anyone else to
think that
share your experience?
I think the message is clear. I would like to sincerely thank all the participants for your active involvement, consistent participation, and enthusiasm throughout all the sessions. Your encouragement has truly made this FDP meaningful and successful. Okay, once again, regarding the certificate, I would like to inform all participants that the certificates will be issued after verifying your attendance as per the FDP guidelines. Once the attendance is reviewed, the certificate will be dispatched accordingly. We request your patience in this regard. Once again, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the esteemed resource persons and panel members for their valuable time and knowledge sharing. Thank you all for being a part of this FDP. Wishing you all success in your academic and professional journey. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you all. Thank you. So you can download your certificate through email.
Sir, the upcoming FDP, regarding the upcoming FDP, we will share the all the documents in the group that we have already for this FDP, and the registration link and all other updated brochures will be shared soon.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಅದ್ ಬರೀ ಇಲ್ಲ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಹಾಕ್ದಾಗ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅದ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಇರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ